Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you are. Thank you for watching my videos. I'm joined here with Leanne Nova, and she is right now in Bali, Indonesia. Is that correct?
That's right. Hi,
Yeah.
everybody.
And she is an Australian, and she's going to be here talking about food items that you can purchase and store during the quarantine process of this particular outbreak of the coronavirus. Um, so what we're going to start off with is some positive news because I know a lot of people are afraid, a lot of people are scared, and they don't know how long this is going to take. And I really think that we just got lucky here because I want to share something really important with everybody that recently we found out that this drug here called hydrochloroquine will cure the coronavirus within 5 days, and it's 100%. Out of all the cases that they've used with the hydrochloroquine, they've had 100% success rate. So that's just awesome news, isn't it? Don't you think?
Really good news. And I know lots of, people are working madly behind the scenes trying to get something that will help combat this. So yeah, it's great news.
Yes, exactly. So with that said, it's going to take some time before, this gets ramped up. The government really understands that this is very important. This drug will work. Um, and in the meantime, we're going to still be under quarantine for maybe a month or two. And so, what are the things that you can purchase that we're going to talk about some of the things you can purchase
Mm.
that will help you survive during this time frame. So we'll also start off with some of the cheaper items that you can purchase, so that people who are just been laid off, don't have a lot of income, and want to have obviously enough food so that they can eat. What are some things that you think that are a good idea for people to purchase to survive over the next few months?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've been talking about this a lot, and I myself have had to go into that train of thought. I've always naturally thought that way anyway, having had immigrant grandparents from Holland that survived World War II. So I'm feel like I have a pretty good knowledge base for what we need to keep in our pantries and things. And I'm also mindful that a lot of people are under the pump with money at the moment too. So my background, I'm not just a random grocery expert, but I am a teacher, and Davinci and I know each other from the crypto circles. So what I've started to do, well, actually started doing it like yourself, a couple of weeks ago already when I started looking at the numbers. So I've started to stock up on a few things. Some of the things I think are super important is, first of all, protein rich foods are going to be paramount to stop you feeling hungry. I have noticed a lot of people reach straight away for those luxury comfort items like chips and chocolate, and they're not sustaining food. And in the reality is, if you're going to be home for quite an extended period of time, you need things that are going to be nourishing and sustaining. And often those things are the most expensive things anyway. So if you're on a budget, I would suggest some canned items. I know, and this is really, it sounds like 101 stuff, but like, for example, at the moment, I'm eating fresh for as long as I can. But I have got in my pantry things like this, peas and carrots that are canned. And it's funny because in the supermarkets, these are the things that are not going so much. People are going for the other things. I've got like this ratatouille that's a mixture of vegetables that can be added. And these are all very cheap items. One of my cheap little golden tips is this spinach. It's dense. The can is chock-a-block full of spinach, and you can make really great things with spinach, with eggs and stuff to feed quite a few people. Big spinach pie, big spinach omelets. That is a very nutritious and dense and cheap thing to keep at home. But as we were discussing before, the other items will be things like oatmeal. Having oatmeal is a very cheap breakfast item that you can have with some honey and cinnamon and stewed fruit. And all of this we've been talking about the worst case scenarios here. So if you had to have breakfast and you couldn't get fresh bread, you can have oatmeal with stewed fruit, or if you can't get stewed fruit from a can, then you're having it with honey and cinnamon, and it's an enjoyable thing to eat.
What are some protein items that people could use, right? For because you've mentioned a lot of vegetables. I think a lot of people here are meat eaters, and
Yeah.
they're not looking too excited about vegetables that you pointed out. So I'm sure there's a few carnivores out there.
Yeah, no, I'm a carnivore. I'm an omnivore, as you can see. I'm meat and vegetables. But no, meat is a really important part of my diet too. So I have definitely put a lot of frozen meat into my freezer. I went to the butchers and I've portioned out things and recipes I can make with. I have mincemeat. I have chicken. I've got some fillet cuts of steak that obviously will be rationed out for the special times, those ones. But, you know, the staples like mince and chicken are really great things to have stored up. I've also got a lot of tinned fish like tuna and tinned salmon. That protein's really important. And they're things that we can keep in the emergency, you know, sort of when the freezer's empty kind of scenario. But yeah, the fishes and the meat for the freezer are definitely the fish in the can's a really interesting one, actually. Again, I'm not sure it's a thing that people think of, but it's very budget friendly, and it's a great thing to add to pastas and, you know, things like that. So yeah, that protein side of things. And in terms of protein as well, as much as I do eat meat, I'm also aware that I won't be able to eat as much recently and in the coming weeks maybe. So I've also got like a really good protein powder, and that just is all dependent on what you like. There's milk-based ones. This one's a plant-based protein, but protein for me is super important. I actually get really bad migraines, and if I don't have a lot of protein, I notice that my constitution is more susceptible to a migraine. So protein is super important. So it might be worthwhile just having some protein powder as well that you can add to smoothies and things like that.
Interesting, interesting. I believe there's this. I remember these sausages in a can that I used to eat when I was a child. They were
The
horrible.
Frankfurt thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. In the 80s, I think our mothers, I think they were a fad then, and you'd have one and they're
Yeah,
like, oh, this is weird and wonderful and ugh. But yeah, you know, maybe we'll be eating them again.
exactly. So I don't know if they sell those things anymore. I haven't seen them right in a long time, but
Do.
maybe.
I think they do. And I think they still sell spam, but I haven't never bought it before, but I think they still have ham in a can. But yeah, I mean, you can freeze frozen deli items. I mean, that's another thing. You can freeze all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
I
but
did.
the thing is, like, your freezer doesn't have enough space for 2 months worth
Yeah.
of
Yeah. So the
meat.
tinned fish and the potted meat, you definitely can get potted sausages and things like that. I personally, I don't want to eat those, but you know, if I have to, I will. But that's not my first choice. But absolutely on a budget, and if that's something you need for emergency supplies, that's a good choice. This is where we have to get really creative with our thinking. Maybe we can make potted sausage stew.
Exactly. Well, I think maybe some those sausages with Kraft Dinner, kind of like cheese, mac and cheese. It's a lot. My mac and cheese is my favorite, actually.
Your
I love
favorite,
my
okay.
Kraft Dinner mac and cheese. So
Yeah,
with
yeah.
sausages, that'd be perfect, actually.
There you go. There you go. There
So
you
that's
go.
one of my ideas.
There's creative ways around everything.
Exactly, exactly. And I think maybe we should also mention different ingredients to help make other things. like bread or pastas or I don't know, make your own I don't know, pastries or something like that. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think what are some of the ingredients you would need in order to start making your own pastries at home?
So I've got flour, butter, baking powder, some cocoa powder. They are really simple staples for either making pancakes, a cake. Really, those little things that if you can't get access to fresh bread or whatever, you can also make your own, pastry, as you said, for a quiche or a base to cook a pizza or something. But yes, having flour, baking powder, butter, sugar, salt are absolute non-negotiables in a time where you may not be able to get to the shops. You can even make your own pasta. I know in Australia they've run out of pasta on the shelves because that's a thing people reach for. In Bali, the shelves are full of pasta because, Indonesians, that's not their native diet. So I've had access to that stuff. I don't eat a lot of it, but I definitely do have it in my pantry. But I said to some friends in Australia, why don't you make pasta with flour and eggs? And so, yeah, so it's about using those staples to make the things you can't buy. And they're paramount to have those sort of items. Rice and rice noodles are really great things for stir fries and rice. You can make. I mean, you can even make dessert out of rice. You can make coconut rice puddings, or you've got your savoury or sweet dishes with rice. So rice is a really great one. Rice with milk and cocoa and sugar is a beautiful dessert if you make it on a pot for everybody. So there's lots of creative ways to use the staples that we just take for granted, I think. Pasta, rice. What else have I got there? Oh, couscous. Couscous is a great, that's something people aren't reaching for either, is couscous. Couscous is wonderful. It's instant. It doesn't take long to cook. You can have it on the side of any meat dish or vegetables, and it's delicious with that. So couscous is a really good one to have as well.
Heard of couscous. I've heard of quinoa, but
Ah, Couscous is couscous is largely a Mediterranean, Middle Eastern staple, and it's wheat based, but it's tiny little grains, and they often serve it with tagines or through tabbouleh salads and things like that. But you can accompany that with any curry or stew. So if you haven't got potatoes, couscous is a really nice bulk thing to have along with the other item. Yeah, couscous. Look that one up. It's a great one to have.
awesome. Yeah. So we're headed into the summer months, so I think potatoes is a good idea, and you can start growing your own potatoes because that's the easiest thing to grow. I mean, unfortunately, some of the potatoes that you get in the supermarket, they spray them with a chemical to prevent them from actually growing into more potatoes. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah.
terrible.
On little fingers and yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Potatoes, I did this last week. I got a whole lot of potatoes from the market and I boiled them with carrots because this is a little bit of my background is also Dutch, and we have this nice mashed potatoes dish called stompot, and it's a mixture of vegetables and potatoes mashed together. And I actually portioned those into the freezer. So they're great to have with a piece of meat, or sausages or chicken or whatever. So you can freeze potatoes. And I'm aware that people's freezers are quite full, but that is an option as well. Yep.
So yeah, I think potatoes is a good idea. You could grow more potatoes in about in about a foot worth of dirt. So yeah, it's a great thing if you can get the potatoes from a farmer's market. I know that all our farmers market are probably closed by now, unfortunately, but you
Yeah.
can't really grow potatoes with the potatoes they get in the supermarket because they spray it, so that you can't do that. That's unfortunate. But I know
Mm.
it's kind of late for us to do that. But there is other options. Some other options are you can find your own seeds, right? I'm sure you can order seeds on Amazon because I'm sure not nobody's thinking about that right now. They're thinking about
Mm.
other. So I would suggest you buy seeds on Amazon.
Yeah.
to grow your own vegetables.
I
And
mean,
even if
sorry.
things even if things uh, don't go as bad as we think, right? They don't go on for a very long time. It doesn't hurt to learn how to plant a small garden.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved as a little girl having a vegetable garden. And there's somewhere in between we've all stopped having vegetable gardens. Some people do, but the majority don't. And I think this is like this beautiful opportunity and positive opportunity to get back to what food is, the realness of food. I mean, in Indonesia, I mostly eat fresh fruit and vegetables and meat. And when I go back to Australia, when I visit my parents, I go through a supermarket and I actually feel sad because I see people filling their trolleys with cardboard packets. And that's not what we were designed for. So this is a really great opportunity for us to really get back to the really essentials of what we put into our body, which is the most natural things, which are usually not in packets. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So, well, anyways, if anybody wants to, also another thing that you can do, right, is learn how to cook. There's lots of recipes online. So if you don't know how to make your own pasta, just Google how to make your own pasta, and you'll
that,
find many videos on how to do that. You'll find many videos on how to make a cake, make a quiche, yeah, make many things that you would like to eat. So whatever you want is all available to you, so you don't have to worry about it. What are some one of the things I'd like to mention is before we close it off is what other spices people should stock up on, because spices are pretty cheap in general
mm,
and they help really add flavor and to your food and so forth. And if you stock up with spices, right, you could always learn to make something really cool,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
can come up with something new that nobody else has thought of, right? So,
yeah.
what are some spices you would recommend people purchase?
I definitely always have some sort of curry powder in my pantry. Curry powder is like an essential for me. There's often curry pastes, like from Thailand or Japan, that are in very small packets. Cinnamon, and allspice, obviously salts and peppers. I would say for me, they're the very raw, basic ones in my palate and cooking, because they can, really make boring things come alive. And a really good stock powder. If you don't have stock powder, it's very cheap and you can make soup from it. You can add it to a stir fry. You can add it to anything that you're cooking, a stew that needs a little bit of life. So they would be the essentials, I would say.
Yeah, I would recommend some rosemary, some garlic powder, yeah, some also something spicy, something like I would say some sort of Tabasco sauce or something like that. Something that to give it a little bit of kick, your food,
Yeah.
right? When
Yeah.
you're getting really bored, or it helps if you get some different types of spices, especially with something with strong flavor that would give your food a little bit of a oomph, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely. And you can make your own marinating sauces with soy sauce, sugar, vinegar, and chili and that sort of thing. So again, it's about Googling how to make those things out of the basic ingredients, so that those ingredients you can also make other things. But yeah, I think it's a perfect opportunity to get online and look at some recipes. And because we're at home, and if you do have kids, make this is a whole other subject for us, Davinci, but entertaining kids, what a wonderful way to read recipes with them and cook and
exactly. That's
and
awesome.
that kill a bit of time that way.
Exactly, and it's lots of fun. Trust me. When just you're both all of us are like the whole family is learning together and how to bring things together and make something from scratch is just lots of fun, right? And you can like
Yeah.
play with that and stuff like that. So yeah, well, thank you for joining me on my channel, right? I hope to see you again. I'm sure everybody is glad to have you here, telling us, giving us some advice about how to prepare for this. And yeah, I think we will do very well so long as we stay calm and have some fun and enjoy the time at home, basically.
Yeah, yeah, and also we're being a bit more mindful about how much we eat because which is a good thing. We might actually all come out of this a little bit fitter and healthier.
Exactly, exactly. Well, thanks
Yeah.
again. All right. Take it
Okay,
easy.
thank you.
Bye now.
Bye bye.